hello everyone, and welcome back to this week's painting palette challenge. We are going to go for our second color palette out of Color Cube 1, which is part of Sarah Renee Clark's Color Cube system. We are in volume 1 of the Color Cubes. We did our first palette of 5 last week, and now let's see. Let me go, we'll figure here. Okay, we got 1. So 159. Oh, that's pretty. Those colors are lilac gray, imperial red, burgundy, brown, and black. Let me go and find at least a few colors that I can either come close to or maybe mix down to get close to this, and we will get started. So I think that I'm going to experiment. This could go well, since this is the first time that I'm going to use a gel plate, or it could go horribly wrong. But you never know unless you try, so why not try it while I'm filming it to share with all of you. The palette that we're doing today, and again, this is from Cube 1 of the Color Cubes by Sarah Renee Clark. It is palette 159. The colors, I swear, they've got it in for me, these palettes. Lilac gray, imperial red, burgundy, dark brown, and black. I went through because I'm going to try and do a gel plate. That means I have my brayer. I have a piece of just plain old paper to start out with. We're still going to try and use the book of watercolor paper in the end. That's where I may completely fail. I have a gray, more of that robust red, imperial red that they're calling it. And then I have this burgundy, cranberry wine here. I'm not looking for any brown. I do have a black, and I'm thinking I may grab my gold tinted iridescent acrylic for one of the layers. So what's going to happen here now is we're going to move things to the side so that I don't make a mess. I have to put one of these paints on here. This is going to be my first layer. This little stencil here, we'll put that on there, put the paper over it, soak up excess paint, wait for it to dry. I'll probably use the hairdryer on cold setting is what I've been told. And then we're going to do another layer with maybe these flowers in a different area, trying to think. And then if I want to do a third layer, I've been watching another lady who is very good at doing gel prints. She has used placemats and different kind of textured placemats, dinner mats that you can find at the Dollar Tree or whatever, and using that to also bring up another layer. When I find her name, I will put it in the description so that I can definitely make sure she gets credit for inspiration on what could be good or what could be a major mistake. But you don't know until you try. Let me clear some things up. The first layer that I want to put down is probably going to be this true red with maybe a little bit of gray. I think I might just do all the red. Then I'll mix the gray in for the next layers. We shall see. I might go to the gold. It's still all churning in my brain right now. But let's put this on hold because I've got to get everything situated and get this extra layer of acetate off. Fingers crossed. All right, here we go. No more beating around the bush. I'm going to take this layer off. Oh boy, you do actually really need muscle on this, don't you? Okay, we got that. Put it over to the side. We're going to put some of the red. And just here in a second, here's the brayer. So just going to move it around on here. Get this paint going so that there's coverage. We're going to have a good amount. So just trying to make sure that I'm getting it all over this plate. Maybe I'm pressing down too hard. I think I want to do a little bit more. Actually, here. I'm going to use this Liquitex Basics. See if that'll help add a little bit more oomph to this. Just trying to get a better coverage here before I go put the stencil on. That is interesting how it's making some marks in there. All right, let's put that over here. Now, I'm going to put this stencil on top. Okay, now I'm going to put a piece of regular old copier paper on here, pressing it down really good so that I can get as much of the paint up that isn't going to be used on. All right, go around here. And I'm just going in all of the grooves. A minute here. I'm going to lift this paper up and we'll see. Let's see what we got. Okay. Well, and that just means that I have now a nice little piece of paper that I can always use for collage somewhere else. So that will go to the side. And now I'm going to pick this up. And we have a pretty decent, I mean, it's got some marks through it, some air bubbles maybe. I am not going to get way too upset about that. Now I'm going to clean the brayer and let this dry a little bit. And if it's still, I'm unsure, then I'm going to hit it with the hair dryer on cold setting and we're going to go from there. All right, so I'm going to hope that this is dry enough. We'll see. Next, I'm actually going to pull in a copper. I'm going to fudge it and say it goes pretty close to there. I think let's just do the copper. I'm going to see if I can get a layer of this to go across here with it being halfway decently thick. See if we can just get it nice and so again, it's Blick burnished copper and see where we go. Now I'm going to have a lot on this one, I think now. I guess it's going to be my learning curve is trying to make sure I can figure out how much is too heavy and what isn't, you know, what's enough, what's not enough. So let me go over here. I got a piece of paper towel over here that I'm just running the brayer across. And let's just see if we can. Definitely going to be looking into getting a different brayer because this one is not exactly doing the best that it can right now. Getting some lines, as you can see. It's got the markings from the paper towel on it too, so that's part of the issue. What I had wanted to do next was sort of stagger these a little bit because I'm going to have to use two. That already has some on it. So let's go ahead and do it this way. And I'm going to go back. Well, we're just going to reuse it. Okay. And let's just see what we can get here. And to get any kind of excess off. Trying not to get too much of it on my hands. But we always know that that's a battle with me. Oh, are you betting for me or betting against me on this one? All right, let's see. That's what that's looking like right now. It might actually make still a nice piece of collage paper. A little bit of the red going on underneath it. And let's peel these off. Then just another drying stage. So we know that they're in there. It's going to be two types of flowers. So I'm going to go clean things and air dry this. And then we're going to put down the final color. I think what I might end up doing is I'm either going to mix the deco with a little bit of gray. We'll see. And then put the matte down. Or we may just leave it like this. I think we may leave it like this, and then I'm just going to put the regular book over it and let it dry there, and then we'll pull it and see what it does on that watercolor paper, and we're going to take it from there. I'm back. I've got the gray. I'm going to do gray. I'm not going to worry about it being a lilac gray. I'm just going to go with it being gray. Let's put this layer on. So let's put that down. Let's get this brayer ready. And this one's a little bit more liquidy. Like I've said in the past, the deco art are a little bit more liquidy, more so to my liking. Just put a couple of drops of the Liquitex Basic Acrylic Black, just so that maybe it'll help with some of this. Or it could just make it really dark gray. Let's find out. Again, it's on that soupy side. Grabbed a piece of printer paper versus using the paper towel to clean the brayer off. I've seen some people use an old book and just put the brayer on the pages. This is getting an interesting pattern going on there that I didn't put in there at all. I'm trying not to be rough on it, just in case that's what's doing the line digs that it's having. I can see that pattern coming out from the flowers though. All right, let me go ahead and try and clean the brayer off here a little bit. And I decided I'm still going to go ahead and there you go. Here it is. Now let's see. Let's put it like that. I'm going to press it down, see what we're going to get out of this. I'm going to put this on pause while I tussle with the placemat. That's enough of a workout on that one. So let's peel this up, see what we got. And then, yes, I am going to air dry it with the hair dryer. And then one more layer, which is going to be, I want to do the more burgundy colored red here, this cranberry wine. And then we'll put the watercolor paper book on top of it. I'm going to let it sit there for a real good long time, drying probably overnight. And then we'll see what happens when I flip it over and start to try and pull that gel plate away. Okay, are you ready? Let's see what we got here. All right. Now I got that. Now I'm going to go ahead. Let me dry this, and then we're going to do that one more layer, and I'm going to call it a day. All right, it's dry. So this is the cranberry wine, and I think I am going to put a little bit of this primary red in it. See if we can start down here a little bit with the darker tone, and then a darker color, and then let's see what happens with a little bit of this. Now, hopefully that should be enough. We'll see. Wish me luck. Oh, they're pretty colors together. See if I can do this, or if I'm going to need to put some more down on the plate, because this, now we're getting to the point where it's warm here today. It's really tending to now dry quickly. All right, I'm going to put that over here. Just do a little bit more. A little bit more. Running low on this tube. There we go. All right, now I'm probably got too much, right? One way or the other. Go ahead and see if we can get some down here. Definitely get your arm workout in. So at this point, I believe I have done 3 layers. So we're going to see, not only my first time doing this, how overzealous was I trying to do 3 layers of color and texture and everything. And like I said, I am going to put the book on here. Just trying to get some of that excess off of the brayer. Here's the watercolor book. Usually you just put a piece of paper down, but I want to see if it will do it on this, especially if I let it dry onto this plate. So we are at a standstill. I'm going to let this take its time drying. Stay tuned. Okay, I lied. I went right down to the page that it's actually on, and I did some of the hairdryer through it. So now I'm going to flip it over. I will need to come back because I'm going to need to do something around the edge here because this is a larger piece of watercolor paper than this jelly plate. What I have seen them do in the past is they take this extra protective plate off. There's 2 ways of doing this. You can either take the paper off the plate or you can take the jelly plate off the paper. So I'm going to try doing this as take the jelly plate off the paper. And we're going to see if I let it dry enough. There's some gray right there that is on the edge here. Well, looks like we'll be working with that when I go to paint a little bit. I was thinking about doing some black, so I guess I definitely am. All right, let's see what we got. Fingers crossed. It may not be fully dry. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't fully dry. Okay. Let's just do it a little bit slower. See if I can protect some of this here. And in the end, I'm just going to be happy that I did it because I've been putting this off. Wanted to try this out and just wasn't sure of myself with it. And you know what? I'm going to let this all just sit there like that. I was going to try and pull some of this off. I'm going to let it sit there because we'll see if I use it. Now I am going to let it dry. The other thing though is, let me see, if I turn the light on, I haven't had the light on because it was causing a lot of shine. Okay. So you can definitely see some flowers coming through. And you can see the circles of the placemat behind there in the gray. So not a complete success so far, but not a complete failure either. At least something went down for it being my first try. Now this is going to dry and I'm going to think about what I can do for the rest of this. So this has now dried for more than a day. Not exactly a failure, but not exactly a success either because can't really see, as you can see here, when I did it in the first round, can't see these flowers. So thinking about what I need to do here, because as you can see too, that was an 8x10 and this is obviously a bigger piece of watercolor paper. What I'm thinking about doing right now is I really liked how it came out on that first print. This is paper that you can use for collage. I think what I'm going to do is stick this down with some heavy gel mat, use that as a glue. Hopefully that'll work. And then I am thinking I'm going to use one of my sponges with black because that is one of the colors. I'm going to sponge around this outside border, first with the black, and then I may come back and sponge over the black with the cranberry wine. I may decide to leave it like that, or part of me is wrestling with the fact of maybe trying to do what's called a fussy cut with some of these flowers. Or I could, just because there are other things to do in my day. I don't want to get too frustrated with fussy cutting. That can be used for something else. I could just use the stencil again and come in with the copper and try and do the stencil over again so I can match some of that there. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But I wanted to show you that I've already started to try and use some of this as a thought to do some collage there. Now, That means I've got to lay down some gloss gel. Actually, it's matte gel, but I'm going to try and use it here as a way to stick this down in the center. And if it doesn't work, I can always come back and grab some glue. I just didn't feel like doing that. So I did sort of fussy cut this, tried to get some of that white off. Didn't get it all off. That's okay. As I always say, that's okay. But let me see if I can maybe just, this should dry clear. Let me go over the edges here a little bit. Not too much because that is some of the nice shiny. Not too much as I go and put down a whole bunch. Oh well, the world is a bunch of Mondays today for me. I'll make my way, and I can always come in here and just try and clean this up a little bit if it's bugging me that much. It'll probably darken it a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna darken it out a little bit. Or I should say more dull it. Turn this on. Got a little bit of a shine on it. Well, at least it shows you that some of the copper is in there. It's just not keeping the impression that I used on it. All right, here's the sponge. I'm using this plastic palette today. I'm gonna just put that in there, and we're going to just go over the edge a little bit. At least I was on it enough to realize that I had to put down my protective paper towels today. Actually, this is coming out. You're going to come over here and do this again. We're just going to bring it a little bit in here because we got that black in there too. Some of that edge didn't come out right. It peeled off a little bit. But you know, it was a first try. I'm happy that I decided to go ahead and do a first try. You got to start somewhere, right? That's the whole thing. You got to start somewhere. Oh, I don't know if you can hear the bird outside my window today right now. You can hear it. That's with the door actually even closed because it is already getting to be hot here in Florida. So my door is shut. No fresh air today while I do this. All right, let's see. I'm gonna need to dry, but I can use this smaller one to maybe do the cranberry with it. I'm most likely still gonna have to go get my hair dryer. Yeah, no, that's really black. But hopefully I go to put some of that cranberry on it, it'll look better. I'm going to use this just to see if I can get some of this. Not so opaque. It's very, very opaque. Really laid it down heavy here. As if I hit it with a little bit of water. Hopefully not too much of a mess. And a little bit of the texture from the paper towel through it. I'll take it. All right. Turn this in. All nice and colored. And paint. Okay. So we got that down. All right. What are we doing? Still pretty dry. All right, let's go ahead and put the Bordeaux or the cranberry wine down. Let's give it its own little pocket here. Let's try with that first. See how far I get with that. And now I learned from that experience with the black, it's going to be pretty heavy. So let's just do the dots all over the place with it. And this is probably not going to be a favorite. I just couldn't let it be. I had to do something. Let's do a little bit more down here. It's very light. so it doesn't look like I just randomly didn't bother to run the cranberry anywhere else. We don't look like we're completely not in some kind of logic to it. Oh well, at least I can laugh about it. And that's what counts. I'm still having a good sense of humor with this one. And you never know. I may be saying, I don't like it, I don't like it. And there could be somebody watching right now saying, but I like that. And those little white pieces that I could not fussy cut out, let's just cover them with this cranberry. Okay, so those white pieces aren't just like sitting there hitting you right in the face. They got a little bit of paint on them. So that I am going to make sure dries before I even consider about, since those are the ones there, this was the stencil I used and brought back in this center little piece with the cutout paper. I'm going to let this dry and then use the same stencil, and we'll start seeing if I can just use a little bit of, I think we'll go back and we'll use this with the acrylic so that we can bring that to the top again. I think that's a good plan. At least it's the one I'm sticking with right now. All right. Let's see if we can bring this plane home for a landing. All right, that's a little bit puckered under there. I'm going to let it go. Let's try this way down. I'm going to use the same stencil that was used on the first gel plate print that I made. I want to try and bring that back to the surface now that I've made this black and cranberry borderish kind of thing out here. But remember, people, these are the colors I was challenged to work with. Lilac gray, just used gray. Imperial red, burgundy, dark brown, or black. I have not used any dark brown, don't want to. But I did use, I guess, sort of as a substitution for that, or in the imperial red family, but it is metallic. So you know that I always say, I can use a metallic if I want to, because it's my palette challenge party, and I'm gonna use metallics if I want to. All right, so first thing first, I want to try and do one in here. Let's see if we can line this up a little bit so that they're sort of going over the other one, because I want it to go up into here. So where can I place this to have it overlap, but not overlap right on top of these? Let's do it like this, and then we'll see how I go from there. And you know what? Here, because I'm going to try and not have the stencil move, let's just use some of this tape here, tape it into place. And I'm really not going to be sad if that rips up some of that black paint. All right, so I've got my little handy dandy brush here to blend. And let's get it on all sides. Okay, let's see if it's going in better. Let's have some faith. I don't know about that right now, but I'll try and have some faith that I'm not having a malfunction of some sort. Oh well, keeps me on my toes now, doesn't it? Sometimes you just need to be kept on your toes. Let's just, not doing a full-blown one. Let's just see if we can have a shadow of one up there. A bit of shadow on this one. A little bit deeper. And then we're gonna just see how this looks. And could let it rest if I want to, and let that be enough. We'll see. Am I ready? I don't know. All right. Is what it is. It looks nice up there. Not exactly the greatest how I moved that over down there. All right. I'm going to do a little down here. Let's just see. Oops. Almost poured it right onto the painting. Yowzer. That would have made me cry. All right. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this without making too much more of a mess. Try not to really put it down too heavy. I like how it has a little bit of a shadow effect up there. All right, I know that's a lot of knocking. Let's see if I did something decent or I just made it worse. There we go. Should I do some over here? Take this tape off because I don't want to ruin some good stuff that I got there. Now I got too much tape. All right, just stay there. Work with me. We're near the end. Come on, work with me. All right, here we go. And with that, I'm going to let it go. We're going to call it for this one. So that'll end up drying a little bit. I do really like that copper. This burnished copper acrylic from Blick, really good with that stencil. I mean, you could hold it this way. Just because I have it like this in portrait doesn't mean that I couldn't turn it this way, couldn't turn it around this way. Short of digging it that way though, because it sort of frames it a little bit better. I may end up that if it ever comes out of the book, this may be the way that I end up holding it or presenting it versus this way. I hope you've enjoyed today. This is palette 159 from Color Cube 1 of the Sarah Renae Clark Color Cube system. And again, we used, the choices were lilac gray, imperial red, burgundy, dark brown, and black. I did try an experiment for the first time on a Gelli print with kind of results, but I did it. That's half of it, is getting over your fear. And I still have the first original print that I can still use some of these on other work or cards at a future time. I hope that you have enjoyed watching, and if you haven't already subscribed yet, I would really appreciate you subscribing, liking, give me a comment. Would you have used different colors or not used the copper? What would you have done differently? And if you liked it, I would really appreciate you sharing this with other people, because this is actually fun challenging myself. I challenge myself so that maybe you don't get to fall on your face trying out new things. Have a good one. See you then.